David V for Victor Pecora, P-E-C-O-R-A, Captain Medical Corps. Well, I was a civilian until December 1941 when Pearl Harbor was attacked by the Japanese. And I was then an intern at in Lakeside Hospital in Cleveland, which is part of Western Reserve. I had just graduated from Yale Medical School, and I was serving my first year of internship with a 2-year appointment. The Japanese attacked, and I was suddenly informed of it, not suspecting anything was going to happen. I was making rounds Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon. It was then Sunday morning in the Hawaiian Islands, and one of my patients said, "Doc, I just heard over the radio," and he's listening to earphones they hadn't plugged into the wall. "I just heard that the Japs," he called them, "the Japs have destroyed our fleet." And I didn't pay too much attention to him. I thought it was a little, as they used to say, pixelated because of his disease. And I just brushed that off. And he said, "Oh no, you gotta wait, this is true." And so I said, "Oh, that's another Orson Welles story." And as the older people recognize, Orson Welles used to give radio programs, and he had one that was entitled "The Invasion of the Martians," and he had New York City and a lot of big cities all expecting the Martians to march down Fifth Avenue. And so when I heard several people discussing it, then I believed it. And it wasn't long after that the professor, who was our chief, said to me one Saturday afternoon when he and I were the only ones on duty, he just came to the lab where I was working. And he said, "Well," he said, Now this actually occurred before D-Day, and he said, he was worried, and the only thing I was worried about was getting my specimens taken care of so I could go on to something else and get a rest. And so he said that, "You know, the Japanese ambassador," I hadn't had time to read the papers or listen to radio. He said, "The Japanese ambassador's just left Washington, and I bet when he comes back, the Japanese are going to declare war." And that was the first inkling that I had that war was imminent. And I often wonder retrospectively how he knew so much, but then he was a professor in the university and probably knew a lot of people in Washington, which I didn't. And so it came true that before the Japanese ambassador returned, the Japanese had attacked Pearl Harbor, and you know what happened. The professor did say when he talked to me that Saturday before the attack that he was afraid we was going to lose all of us. And there again, I didn't know what he meant really, and I didn't want to find out. But I soon found out what it was, and it wasn't long after that my draft board sent me greetings, and it said very succinctly that if I didn't volunteer for the service, I would be drafted. So I volunteered. And it wasn't long afterwards that I was inducted in the Army. I was given leave to visit home, which was in New York, Yonkers, New York. And then I was sent by mail. Of course, I had a physical in the meantime. I was sent a letter in the mail announcing that I'd been commissioned in the Army of the United States. We learned that the West Pointers and the people who had formal training were called the U.S. Army, but we were AUS. AUS meant civilian surgeon. And our serial numbers was much longer. Mine was 1690648. And the regular Army and the people who had ROTC had shorter numbers. And that wasn't the only thing that differed, because they knew what they were doing and we didn't know what we were doing. But they had a mimeograph sheet telling me, give me permission to buy a uniform, and showing how I should put my insignia. And it was to be exactly inches, so many inches from this and this and so on. And so I dressed up, and on the appointed day I took the streetcar down to Van Cortlandt Park to take the train at Pennsylvania Station, which was going to carry me to Columbus, Ohio, which was my first assignment at Fort Hays. There they put me through a lot of pictures and took my fingerprints and so on. And everything was hurry, hurry, hurry. And then they deposited me and brought me to the railroad station, which was on the grounds. They had a car, passenger car, with it seemed like only 2 or 3 people in it. And there we waited for half a day before it took off. And, well, to make a long story short, I went to Fort Hays, and I spent a year there, and eventually, well, I can give you a few details. They worked me very hard, and they had me doing all sorts of duties, and I got along very well with my superior, and so well that he gave me 2 or 3 jobs instead of one, made me the chief of laboratory and the chief of assigned me the orthopedic service and the general surgery, and everything worked out well, and he rewarded me by complimenting me and giving me an excellence flag on all my awards.